right, so welcome to class. Today we're going to have a demo on creating an isometric Halloween themed poster or design. As you can see in this particular image, let me just zoom in there. The main goal is to take your text and then make it look as if it's like bending around a wall or a surface. So it kind of creates this like almost like 90-degree turn, and we're going to use our isometric effects to do that. So I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to delete all this. And we'll get through this process of like how to actually create this whole effect. In the file that you can see here, we've also got some bats. We've got our Happy Halloween kind of broken up into those three pieces. We've got October 31st written there. And then at the bottom as well, you can see a color scheme was put in there. And then lastly, to the right of the file, you can also see I've broken up directions step by step with colors and tools indicated. So please use those things in addition to this video to help you complete this design project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all my text. So I'm going to start with Happy Halloween, and I'm going to bring those over to my design artboard, and then I'm going to zoom in. Now, in order to play with this and have it kind of like turn out kind of cool, I'm going to make the words line up in such a way where, like, when I cut them all to bend on like a corner, it'll cut one letter in half in each piece of this text. Again, we're separating Halloween into like two actual words, so that it just makes it into more of a chunky or square-looking thing. Obviously, Halloween's one word. In this case, though, we're going to kind of treat it like the word is broken up on two different lines. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline it. So right-click, create outlines, and that turns it into actual objects. And I'm now going to scale my text up just so everything is about the same width. So Ween gets a little bit bigger. Happy Halloween, that looks pretty good. And this might look a little bit different than my demo, but let's just go with it. Now lining up the P and the L, so the last P of happy with the first L of hollow. And then I'm going to take this Ween, and maybe I'll move this E in line here. Doesn't look too bad. Maybe I'll move happy on top of that L. So you can kind of play around with your placement of the words to consider like what parts do you want to actually cut in half. How do you want the text to kind of like fall across a surface, like a corner? So I've got that. In order to cut the text in half, we're going to use our line segment tool. So I'm just going to click on that line segment tool. And I'm going to draw a line that just will cut right through all these pieces right here. But let's go ahead and clean up our text first, make it a little bit more interesting. So because it's outlined, I can go, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these negative spaces in the text. Sometimes you'll see people do this. It's almost like an archive or like an artifact from creating stenciled text. So when you create stencils, those things tend to typically fall out of the stencil, and so it creates more of a solid looking text. Now I'll take my line segment tool, I'm going to click and drag down, and I'm going to hold shift, and that'll make a nice straight line going all the way through all three words. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that line, and I'm going to use it to split all three of these words directly in half. And so if I select everything here, right now I'm in outlines, which is Control Y. So in order to split it in half, I'm going to go to Window. I'm going to go down to my Pathfinder tool, Shift Control F9 on a Macintosh. I'm going to click Pathfinder, and then this one that's right here, it says Divide. That's the button you're going to want to push. And so I'll click on that, And you can see the line segment disappeared, and now we have our text kind of split on either side of that line segment. I'm going to go get out of outlines, Control Y. Then I'm going to select all the words on one side of this, but I can see it's grouped, so I want to ungroup it. So ungroup. Let's try that again. Select all the words on one side of the line. That's looking good. I'm now going to group it, so Command G or Control G. And then I'll select all the other words, Control G. So far so good. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to color these. So I may have my steps a little bit differently in the directions, but let's go and do this. So I'm going to make the left side dark orange, and I'll make the right side here light orange. That way it'll look like, I don't know, shadows on one side, lights on the other. Okay. And so at this point, we're pretty much ready to go. We're ready to apply our isometric perspective to this. The only thing that's going to be weird about this is that the left side here, the dark orange, we're going to actually select it in the isometric right side, and that'll end up making it look like it's kind of leaning up. And then the right side will make it look like the left isometric plane. And so it'll kind of almost look like the square is, the cube is like pushing up. You'll see this in a little bit. So main thing is just remember that they're going to kind of be opposites here. So we'll go to Effect, 3D Materials, 3D Classic. We're going to use our Rotate Classic here. Click on it. It'll pop open this dialog box, which you should be familiar with. And then we're going, again, left side's going to be isometric right. So click on that. And kind of almost looks like the cube is like leaning up above you. Creates almost like a worm's eye perspective. Hit OK. Click on the right side. Effect. Sometimes at the top of the menu, you'll see this Rotate Classic. So it's almost like it was the most recent menu that was selected. So you can also just click on that, and that'll bring open your 3D rotate options. Dialog box. I'll go isometric left for the right side and hit OK. And you can kind of see this effect taking place. So it's almost like leaning up. Again, worm's eye perspective. Once I like that, I want to convert those effects into actual objects. So I'll go to Object and I'll hit Expand Appearance. And that actually turns it into a solid object. Sometimes you'll see this rectangle kind of surrounding your affected object. If you take your direct selection tool and just select one of the corners, you can then delete it. And it's a kind of clipping mask in which the effect exists. So again, direct selection tool, creating a selection rectangle and deleting that. You may not have to do that, but you'll notice if you try to change the colors, it may actually fill that shape with a color. And then you'll probably ask me, Mr. Falk, what's going on here? So let's zoom in. I'm going to put these as close as I can on top of each other. And sometimes to get it just perfect, you may actually have to do a slight rotation. Ask me for support on that if you are noticing that problem on your end. So we've got that Happy Halloween. Halloween, again, is separated. I'm going to group those together, Control G. And in order to make this a little bit more impressive, I'm just going to copy this and duplicate it down, just so we have an even taller stack. So it's Happy Halloween, Happy Halloween. All right. So that's kind of like the main isometric portion. The last thing we're going to do, text-wise, is we're going to apply an isometric effect on October 31st. So this one, we're going to go to Effect. Well, actually, we got to outline it first. So right-click, Create Outlines. Then we go to Effect, 3D Materials, 3D Classic, Rotate Classic. And this one, since we rotated the left side as a right and the right side as a left, the bottom is actually going to become the isometric top. And it's almost like we're just drawing this thing upside down. So I'll go and set this one to isometric top. And you can see the October 31st actually looks like it fits on a plane that would be underneath these words. So I can stick that in there. Before we actually complete or expand this, though, I want you to see that you can actually modify the dimensions of this to see if you can make it fit almost a little bit more perfectly. So I'm kind of making it a little bit tighter on the width, and then I'll probably pull it out a little bit just so it kind of gets almost into this boxy shape that fits right underneath all that other text. And if it sticks out a little bit, you know, as long as like readability works, I think we'll be good to go. So happy Halloween, October 31st. Then let's expand this. So object, expand appearance. In this one, you'll see the bottom text will change to a light purple. So I'll take this, I'll hit eyedropper, and I'll select that bottom color. So here's exactly what I was talking about, that selection, the kind of clipping mesh shape went into a complete fill. So if this ends up happening, the thing you have to do is just select one of the anchor points with your direct selection tool, and we can delete it. That disappears. Now we can actually see the text as we want it. So looking pretty good. Let's put a color behind here. So I'm going to get my rectangle tool out, hotkey M. I'll click once, and that brings up a dialog box to set the width and height. I know my artboard is 8.5 by 8.5, so I entered that in, hit OK. I can use my alignment tools to put it right on the center of the artboard. So horizontal align center, vertical align center. I'm going to eyedropper the darkest purple because this will be the background. And then I will right click, arrange, send to back, or I'll go to object, arrange, send to back, which is shift control left brackets. So there it goes. Ba-choo! Nice thing about putting a dark background behind this text is that it just creates nice contrast for readability. So last few things, let's throw some pumpkins in there to make it kind of fun. So at the top of the screen, you'll see I've got some Adobe stock images. This is actual vectors that you can download from Adobe. So I'm pulling down this one, hitting eyedropper, getting that same color from our text. And I don't know, I'll pull this one here, hit the eyedropper, get my dark orange. And in order to continue to sell this isometric perspective, I'll put the light colored pumpkin to that ISO left and the dark colored pumpkin to the ISO right. Again, remembering that these are all being opposites of each other, which might be a little bit confusing, but it becomes clear when you actually apply it, whether or not you got it right. So isometric left, hit OK, looks like it's on the same plane. This one, effect, 3D materials, 3D classic, rotate classic, and this one will be the right, isometric right. Hit OK. I'm going to scale these up just so they have a little bit more visual impact. Scale this up as well. And I can kind of just like place them so they look like they're on the same sides of the color that they are. I'll just make it look kind of fun. Oops. I can lock that background, Command 2. And once I like my pumpkins, I can expand them. So select both, object, expand appearance. Woohoo! Again, realize if I go into outlines, you can see those outlines around my two pumpkins. If I want to get rid of those, I can direct select one of the anchor points and delete it. Control Y. Okay, so last move, and this is just kind of giving some texture. In the background, or off to the left of the artboard, I also put some images of bats flying. And so I thought it'd be cool to have these kind of flying either in front or behind your text. I think they'll probably look better if they're behind because they won't obscure the text. So let's click them all, hit eyedropper. And we don't want to get the brightest purple. Probably something that gets close to the background would be nice for contrast sake, so that it contrasts against the background and then also against the text. So you could play around with that. Don't really like that color as much. But let's see. Shift Control left bracket and then Control right bracket. So I basically sent it all the way to the back and then brought it forward one step. That looks all right.